Okay, so in this video we are going to assemble the components, put all the components onto the base plate. So we're going to start with the bigger of the two OLED displays. There's a smaller one and the bigger one. I'm going to start with this one. Make sure you have a Phillips head screwdriver and a pair of pliers. So first we're going to feed up 4 screws in the top, through the top, and then we'll put on a nut, and we're going to lightly tighten it. We don't need it too tight because we still want it to wiggle a little bit. So we're going to do that for all 4 of them. Then we're going to take the display and align it so that all 4 screws go through. Then we're going to take a nut and on each of these screws and attach it. Okay, now to tighten it, I'm going to use a screwdriver into the bottom. I'm going to first tighten the bottom. So I'm going to tighten the bottom one by grabbing onto the bottom screw and then tightening. And then for the top, I'm going to also grab on, being very careful of the glass because I don't want to break the glass. And the bottom's already tight, so what we're going to do is we're just going to carefully, you can start with a finger tightening it, but actually, until you get to where it's on, but you don't want to make it too tight because you don't want to break it. And then we're going to repeat that for all 4 screws. And for the bottom, you don't want to break the glass, so if it's not moving, it's fine even if it looks a little bit loose. Yeah, so now that's on well. And the screws you were using for this, I forgot to mention, it was you're going to use 4 of the M2.5 times 12 millimeter screws, and then the nuts are 8 2.5 8 M2.5 nuts. For the smaller OLED, you're going to take 4 M2 screws and 4 M2 nuts. These are smaller. Sorry, you're actually going to take 8 M2 nuts. So this is going to be the same procedure as the other one. You're going to need to switch to the Phillips head screwdriver though. Again, make sure it's loose so you can adjust the screw as needed. This one will take a little bit more work to get all four to line up. You might need to loosen some screws as you go. There we go. We're going to apply the nuts on the top. You have to be very careful with this because there's not a lot of clearance before the actual screen, especially on the bottom. And what I did was I just screwed it in from the bottom a little bit more to bring it up more. And like before, we're going to take the pliers on the bottom screw. Let's see if it works. We're going to tighten it down, but not too tightly. You don't want to break the screen. So one of the nuts just came off, but that's fine. We'll just put it back on. What might help here is to tighten this one first. And more of the screw will be sticking up so you can tighten it. Once it's secure, you're good. Alright. next we have to run a little bit of wire because this will be here, and we're going to have the wire underneath the board to help clean it up. So you're going to take the jumper wires. So you have a bunch of male to male and a bunch of female to female. So yeah, female to male and female to female. And you're going to use it as an extension cable. When you're doing this, rip off the same wires at the same starting point so that the colors line up. It'll make it a lot easier. So this needs 7 wires. This board needs 5 wires. So I happen to pull this off already and attach them. For this one first, we're going to connect the ends. So my suggestion is to, in both of these, since you have red in both, make red the power and brown the ground, and then from there just go in the right order, in the same order. And for this, the order is actually swapped, but we're just going to swap these again and make red VCC and brown ground, and then from there we're just going to go in order. Okay, so for this, will wrap around like this. And underneath here like this. Alright, so that's what it's going to look like, but first we actually should connect put the screws through. So it's going to be the same screws that you were using here, so it's going to be 4 M2.5 times 12. And we're going to take 8 nuts. Five, 6, 7, 8. Okay. We're going to get the wire all set up. We're going to tighten these on. And then like before, with the flathead screwdriver, we're going to grab onto the bottom screw and tighten it. And then you can just tighten these. It doesn't have to be super tight, it can be finger tight. Okay, and that's that. The Raspberry Pi is going to be going here. It's going to screw into these 4 holes, but it's easier to put the LiDAR on first if it's easier to put the LiDAR on first if the Raspberry Pi is not connected, because you need to screw it in through holes, but it doesn't let you put a screwdriver through that hole. Okay, so for the next part, we're going to attach the LiDAR. First, when you open the box, you're going to need to connect the USB module using the cable. They're all 3 different connector sizes. Don't force it in. If it doesn't go in, try to flip it. This one's 3 pins, this is 4, and I think this one's 7. So the LiDAR is going to go in like this, but we have to first place the USB module where it needs to go. It's going to go like this, right? So you're going to use M2 screws and the M2 nuts, but the holes don't quite line up, so you're going to only be able to connect 2 of them. So I'm going to go like this, and if it doesn't go in, you can use a screwdriver to tighten it. Then from the bottom, you're going to take a nut and screw it in like that by holding your hand underneath. There we go. And then we're going to take the LiDAR. And we're going to use now the 4 of the M2.5 times 10 screws. They're the black ones. And there are holes in the bottom of the base, so that way you can feed the screwdriver up to screw it in. So first, kind of use your finger to put it in. I'd recommend doing this for all 4 screws. Then you can feed it through. And just tighten the screw all the way down. And note that the motor should be facing the back. Okay, and that's it for that one. Next we can attach the Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi is going to go like this, where the 4 holes are going to line up here. The connectors should be facing downwards or towards the front, towards the OLED. What we're going to do is we're going to take 4 M2.5 screws along with 8 nuts. And similar to before, we're going to attach it to the board first. Okay. I'm going to place the Pi on. And for starting, we're going to just tighten it with our finger. I'm just using the screwdriver to line it. And then, like before, we're going to tighten all of the nuts. Okay. And as before, we can just tighten up all of the nuts. You can just do it with our hand. Our fingers. That's fine. But it shouldn't really move around that much when you do that. Okay. And then we have the fan clips. Okay, so now we want to connect the fan. So we're gonna use these brackets, I guess. They're 3D printed. It's the 3D printed one. So when you're doing this, you're gonna feed one end through where the hole is, not where it's flat. And for one side, you're going to use the right hole. So there's two holes here. You're going to use the right hole on one of them. You don't have to tighten it all the way yet. And for the other one, you're going to use the left hole. Oh no, sorry, you're going to use the right hole for both of them. When you're placing it on the board, it's going to go here by the LiDAR and the Raspberry Pi. And before you go on, make sure that it looks like it's like aligned properly with the holes. So for example, and both should be aligned so that the left side, well, it depends on which way you look at it, but the left side over here, the one towards this way, both of them are aligned with one of the holes on the board. You're going to put it here, which if you count from the edge of this line, where the breakout board is, it's not the first one, it's the second one. It's going to be two away from this, well, two away from the big hole over here. So then we're going to take the other two screws and from the bottom of the board, we're going to stick it up and screw it on. And then let's do the same for the other. And then, well, it's still a little bit loose. Screw in the fan properly. And then you can finalize by tightening the screws on the bottom. Okay. And then finally, you're not, oh, sorry, one more thing first. You're going to take the camera, the Connect camera, and you're going to take the M4 locking washers and the M4x8 screws. It's going to go on the back over here where the USB-C connector is down. You're going to feed in the locking washer, and then in through the hole you're going to then connect it to, screw it into the Connect camera. So let's do the same for the other one. Okay. Okay, so then you might not start out with this board right away, but you're eventually going to take. Wait, let's try to zoom this out. Okay. You're eventually going to connect this on here, and the way this is going to work is the capacitors are towards the the LiDAR. Well, towards the fan, I guess, and you're going to line it up with the headers over here and this on the bottom. Make sure that all of them get connected, and then you're going to carefully push down on it. So, and then on here, just have to zoom this in again. You're going to have to connect a few headers. You're going to take the red header and you're just going to go over one over here. So it's like that. Then the yellow one, we're going to go on the yellow over here. So it should be like this. Okay. And then on the bottom, the headers here, we're going to take this. This should look a little bit differently for you, but we're going to jump it to 5 volts from the middle, and then this one's also going to be 5 volts. And then on the top, we're going to connect it to 3 volts instead. So on the bottom, it should look like this and this. On the top, it should look like this, this, and that. And later I will explain where to connect these wires to, but in the meantime we're not going to do that. And then last step, we have to attach it to the base plate on the robot. So you're going to take off this cover. And there are certain places that you need to connect this to. So one, make sure that the buttons are lined up with this hole. And for this, we're gonna start with, we're gonna have 4 of the M3 standoffs. You're going to need 4 of the M3 nuts, and then 4 M3 times 10 screws. Okay, so make sure the holes line up, but what we're going to be wanting to do is over here, I guess I should zoom in a little bit more. You're going to put on 4 screws and standoffs on 4 corners. So and let's start with this one. We're going to go, it's along the outer rim, and it's going to be the one to the left and the lower one to the left of the OLED display. And this one right here. In mine I marked it with red. On the top, along the outer rim, so using this hole as this is a bigger hole as a reference, it's going to go to the right 1 and up 2. And then for this one, it's to the right of the big hole. And on this corner, if you take a look at the OLED, it's along the outer one, and it's the second outer one past the OLED. So it's this one right here. So what we need to do is figure out which one that corresponds to on the board. I mean on the plastic plate. So this one, I'm just using my finger to hold it. I'm going to thread one of the standoffs, and I'm going to take a nut. I'm going to tighten it on the bottom. I'm going to use pliers to hold it on the bottom. However, I still want to go a little bit tighter, so what you can do is take one of the screws, screw it in all the way. You can use this to tighten it. And then when you need to take it off, or when you want to take out the screw, make sure you hold down the standoff first and then take out the nut. I mean the washer. The screw. So we're going to do that for all of the 4 corners. So next one is this one. And then this one. And finally, its orientation. This one. Is that right? Okay. Now we're going to take the screws and just screw it into all of the standoffs.
make sure you're actually getting it through and connecting into the standoff. Alright, then we're gonna take the rub off. So this is where the button is, right? I need to feed this through the hole again, right? And it's going to come out of this connector. I mean, this little slot. Alright, we'll deal with that in a second. We're going to first put it on, so we're going to line it up and twist it close. And then, let's see if I can show this properly. We have to connect the USB-C cable, so we're just going to connect the cable in like that. And that's it for this. At a later point, we're going to connect all the wires. But for now, that's it.